Hello and welcome to the podcast. We've got an excellent episode lined up for today. I'm joined by the one and only Dan Firth. Dan, thank you for coming on today.
No, my pleasure. And I was thinking about this opening line, and I've never thought about it before until Steph Walker did a post on
I've
LinkedIn
seen
asking
this
what
now. Yeah,
you
it's in my
should
head
say.
now.
And it was 53 different, 53 comments and 53 different versions of what you should say when you come onto a podcast. Not thanks for having me. Um, I'm not creative enough to think of anything other than thanks for having me. So thanks for having me. Looking forward
Just
to it.
say you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think somebody had said, I brought my own coffee and opinions. Well,
there we go. Oh, I
yeah.
like that one a lot. I like that one a lot. So we're doing sort of a half and half, sort of two-part special on this one. So first half is all going to be about sort of new school estate agency versus old school estate agency, and what
Yeah.
newer estate agents can learn from sort of, I don't want to say older estate agents because we sound so old and depressing when I say that. But yeah, we're going to go down that sort of route. And also, you did a poll a while ago about whether you need to be an experience or have experience in a estate agency to be a good estate agency. So we're going to talk about that as well. So let's kick off with topic number one then, shall we? So
Yeah.
what's the number one thing that an old school estate agent like you and me, unfortunately, could teach a new estate agent coming into the business that's going to directly improve their business from day one?
Yeah, I still don't think of myself as an old school or old estate agent. And I think maybe maybe I do need to start thinking of myself as an old school estate agent these days. But I think, old school for me is trying to forget about, it sounds crazy to say in the world we live in, forget about technology and speak to people. Just have a conversation with people. I'm sure we'll dig into what that sort of looks like and what those conversations are and the fundamentals behind it. But for me, there is nothing better than picking up the phone and just having a conversation with someone, whether that be someone that's considering selling a house or whether someone's looking to buy a house. Pick up that phone and talk to them. Have a conversation.
I want to say something a bit controversial throughout this podcast, and that is, do you think that people these days are more scared of the phone because it's an easier option to text, WhatsApp, voice note, send a video, everything apart from phone call, which obviously you can get rejected on a phone call quite brutally,
Yep.
unfortunately. So do you think people are getting more and more scared of the phone because of that potential rejection?
100%, but we've created that world with the likes of WhatsApp, with text messages, with online chats and video calls. We've created that world, and people that know me will be listening to this thinking he's contradicting himself, because I now, completely off topic, if I want to order a takeaway, I want to order it on an app. I want to use Just Eat, and we live in a village in Staffordshire, and we're quite limited to what you can order on an app. So our Chinese takeaway, which is our favorite Chinese takeaway, you have to ring. And it annoys the hell out of me that I still have to go and get the menu and ring and have a conversation to order my takeaway. And I think that's the world we've created. And I think now estate agents either coming into the industry or sort of changing the way they work are starting to lean more towards, I can use technology to do my job for me and not necessarily make my job easier and better. So yeah, definitely people are scared of it. I remember my first day in a state agency, and it was 20 years ago in September. And my first job was to order for sale boards. And I remember at the time thinking, what a bizarre thing to do. I've got my new Burton suit on. I'm ready. I'm ready to be an estate agent. And I've just been given a list of addresses, and I've just got to ring and order boards. But on reflection, actually, that was to get me picking up the phone, dialing numbers and speaking to people. I was 18 at the time. I'd never had a job like this before. So it was to get me on the phone. We don't do that anymore because boards are ordered through the CRM. So,
I mean, I think anybody here who's trying to book in a viewing over text message or over WhatsApp, whatever it may be, we're very aware of how much of a pain in the backside and how it takes about a month and a half to go backwards and forwards with various dates, sort
yeah,
of thing. So certainly in those situations, I'd always say, just pick up the phone and kind of get over and done with. But I think from my point of view, the amount of extra information you miss out on by not picking up the phone, because, even if you have a phone call, for example, with somebody just about anything, on a text message, you can't get tone of voice, you can't get whether they're happy, sad, pleased to hear from you, not pleased to hear from you. Whereas a text message, I think, looking at the stats on it, I think only about 5% of all communication, if we're stood in a room together, is actually verbal. A lot
yeah,
of it is body language and tone of voice and whatever it may be. So if you're only putting 5% forward and the other 95% is on the table, it's naturally going to miss out on things and misinterpret things in those situations.
absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
So
more.
for anyone who's fallen out with their partner over text message, just pick up the phone because they probably didn't mean it. You probably when you thought they said it was fine, it actually probably wasn't fine in reality. You've fallen out of that situation.
Well,
Okay,
that's
so
a whole other
with
conversation.
yes, yeah, that's a different podcast. So we think that agents are getting more and more hesitant to pick up the phone. So who should they be phoning? Who should they be picking up the phone to and speaking to on a regular basis? If they're getting, picking up the phone and dialing people out there, who should be their number one people to talk to?
Yeah, call it whatever you will. I would still maybe be an old school, call it applicants, and people will have their own opinion on what buyers or customers are called. But I had an applicant box, so these people for me are applicants, and I'm sure we'll talk about the applicant box, and that was gold for me. That was not just viewings, it was valuations, it was future sellers, it was all the other things that as a estate agent you need to do, mortgage appointments, legal, everything was in that box. So yeah, your applicants would be your database to go to.
And what's your goal there? So obviously you've got a good number of applicants. So how many would you look after at any one time? Would you have in your box? How big's your box, Dan? Weird question to ask.
So yeah, I've never been asked that before on a podcast. But, um, the oh god, and again, I think back to the old days of the box, and you would just put as many people in there as possible, wouldn't you? Because you would want to guard it with your life. And I remember, there would be arguments over that's my applicant, and then the manager would have two applicant cards in front of them, looking at the date that you registered them or the date that you sent them the particulars, or is the ink still wet because you've just written that on there to claim the viewing. And in reality, back then we would have 50, 60, 100 applicants in there, and it wasn't manageable. What we then did, which I'm sure you did the same, was sort of started to separate them into sort of hotter applicants or applicants that you needed to. We actually progressed to a secondary box, which was the gold box. And
Wow,
and it had gold wrapping paper around it. And the gold, yeah. So some estate agents there coming in using all your shiny CRMs. We had a box with wrapping paper around it.
was it Stafford? Was it Hollywood?
Yeah,
Okay, so we've got the sort of the box then. So at any one time historically, I used to only ever be allowed, and the word is allowed, to have 100 applicants below me.
yeah.
And if I had anybody who walked in the front door who I thought you guys were absolutely amazing, I had to go through and almost do like the walk of shame and have to get rid of someone on my applicant database. Because if you're trying to look after anything over 100, you're going to be slipping shoulders there. Basically, you're going to be missing things out, and you're going to be kind of causing gaps there. So,
Well,
okay, so agents these days aren't picking up the phone enough these days, is fair to say, and they're not getting that kind of one-to-one communication over the phone. What else are they missing in their estate agency business they could learn from sort of the older generations, let's call them?
Yeah, I remember one of my old bosses saying to me that estate agency or sales in general is a contact sport. So you have to go and have contact with people, and you just talked around things like body language and things like which obviously all feed into that. But is your applicant database? It's things like generating valuations. How are you if you're looking to generate appraisals, valuations, or leads for the future, you've got to get in front of people. You've got to talk to people, and one of the obvious ones to talk about maybe is door knocking.
Yep.
It always splits people today, even in a branch, and you will go into branches like I do, and you'll get someone in the branch that says, I love door knocking, and you'll have someone else that says, oh, it doesn't work. And it's, well, you're in the same branch in the same location. What's the difference? And we were made to door knock back in the day. We didn't have a choice. You had to go and do it. And whilst it may have felt like a chore at the time, and a couple of doors slammed in your face, or a couple of people not answering the door, actually, it was a way of getting out and talking to people. It was a way of leaving someone's drive with someone else knowing who I am and what I do. So I'm Dan and I sell houses in your area, even if they didn't invite me in. I was one step further.
I think that's one of my pet hates in estate agencies when people go, "Oh, that doesn't work in my area." Oh yeah, yeah, leaflet dropping that doesn't work in my area. Oh yeah, door knocking that doesn't work in my area. Oh, social media, no one does social media area. You're like, it does. You're just not doing enough of it
Doesn't
effectively.
work in my marketplace. Doesn't work in my bracket, in my price range.
Exactly. So if I was a homeowner in Dan Firth's area 20 or
Yeah,
so years ago, or 19 years ago, we'll give you a bit of experience.
yeah. Thanks.
And you come and knock on my front door, then what's sort of the Dan Firth go-to to sort of open that conversation and start giving me a potential to kind of interact with yourself?
Yeah, it's definitely changed with experience. I think the young naive, probably working for a corporate estate agent, Dan Firth was walking up driveways trying to book valuations. Going in there with the goal of I've got to book a valuation. If I don't go back with the valuation, I'm going to be in trouble. So I was probably a bit more desperate on the doorstep at that point around, trying to ask for a valuation. Let me in, let me value your home. It would be completely different now. And the agents that I talk to now, I talk about what's your goal You know, what does success look like from knocking on that door? You know, actually, if you set your goal, in my opinion, of I've got to either win an instructional book evaluation, you're going to fail more than you win, because either they won't answer the door because they're not there, or they're just not ready to have evaluations. So you're going to fail more than you win. And then I think that's when agents fall into the it doesn't work, because they're going to. So my advice would be knock on the door with a view or a goal of letting that customer know your name, who you are, and what you do. Because actually, that's a pretty easy win then. Even if they don't book a valuation, don't invite you in, or whatever, you've left that driveway a step ahead of where you were before you left. Before you knocked on that door, they didn't know who you are, and they didn't know that you sell houses. So mine would be having a conversation with the customer,
Yeah.
introducing myself and telling them what I do.
And I think
So,
that's the biggest problem in most estate agency businesses is, does anyone even know who you are? You could be the best estate agent in the world and the worst estate agent in the world, but first of all, are you even on the radar? Are you even I think the average person can name about 3 estate agency businesses from memory. Are you even in those three? So that is kind of point number one there. But point number two is that you mentioned as well that your message has evolved over time. So I'm sure the message on door number 100 was very different from door number one, for example. And something that's quite important is going to have that internal review process. So you walk on the front door and you go, "Hi, I'm Dan Firth from Dan Firth Estate Agents." And they go, "No, not today, thank you very much." They close the door. And you knock on the
yeah.
next one and say, "It's a lovely day today. How you doing? My name's Dan Firth." And it actually goes quite well. And you're like, "Okay, I'm going to keep that bit. That works really well." Because there's only so many answers that someone can give you. It's either going to be yes, no, maybe, I've found, I've not found, I'm not
Yeah.
buying on, I'm going into rent. There's only so many options there. So after you've knocked on a certain number of doors, it should be a case where I've kind of reviewed my process enough times. I've not just said the same thing over and over again. I've learned that if I say this, then they say that. And then when they say that, I say this. And if they say this, I say this. And here we up at the end, sort of thing. So it's about having that self-review process for every conversation you have, not just door knocking, but everyone you deal with.
I think it's important as well that you have a structure, and you have a structure that works, and you've just rightly said you find out what that is, but you have to play to your own personality as well. You and I would probably say different things on the doorstep, but we'd probably have the same structure or the same way of getting to where we want to get to, but we'd say it completely differently. And I think back to an estate agent I worked with years ago, and she was really confident, quite a loud, big character, and she said the same on every single door knock. And it was as simple as, I drive past your board every single morning on my way to work, and quite frankly, it annoys me that you're on the market with ex estate agents and
Yeah.
not me, and the fact that you haven't sold. So and that was, she said it every time, and because of her personality, because of the way she looked and the way she said it with a smile on her face, customers just, if I'd have said that, I'd have the door slammed in my face, because
Yeah.
they'd be like, who's this cocky
Yeah.
young estate agent?
No, exactly. Once you find it that works, that's the main thing to go forward with. But I think that for me, it's about, having that confidence to stand in front of somebody and say, "This is who I am. This is what I do." And are you going to be right for everybody? No, probably not. But chances are, if you get yourself in front of enough people, so I generally work out about 1 in 20. So you knock on 20 doors and speak to 20 people. One of them's probably going to go, "Yeah, I'm actually a bit annoyed with my estate agent," or I've not found yet, and you can help me." And it's kind of a good positive conversation on that side. But if you're only knocking on 5 doors, then you probably, your odds are against you effectively. So
And they tend to be the agents that say don't work. They don't. The ones that are knocking on five. No one's answering the door. It doesn't work in my area. And
yeah, it's like everyone's the five that I knocked on at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning didn't answer their door, strange enough. Therefore, door knocking doesn't work for me. Who would have guessed it? So
yeah,
okay, so we've got kind of calling our applicant database and having that communication there. We've got the door knocking side of things. What else do you
yeah,
think kind of the newer school agents could learn from the oldies?
yeah. I think when we were. Again, we're talking about when we were of it back in our
Back in
day.
our day, yeah,
Back in
exactly.
our day. I want to come back to that knowing you. I want to come back to the things that people know who you are and know what you do. So getting out into the community, and people know. We were blessed, certainly in my early days, of people would come into our estate agents to get the newspaper. Things like that. They'd come into the newspaper, even if they weren't looking to buy a house. They'd come in and get their free newspaper every week. So we'd start to know those people. They'd start to know us. We would be known in the town because we had our branch in the town. We'd be known in the coffee shops, the butchers, and things like that. So we'd be known in the area. And I always think everyone talks about know, like, and trust. If someone's going to sell their house with you or buy a house with you or transact with you, they're going to know you, like you, and trust you. And you've got to start with that know you first. Why would they trust you if they don't even know who you are? And I think it's quite hard to get know, like, and trust in one go.
Yep.
I think in one phone call or one meeting to get those three things is quite difficult. So you've got to get people to know you. So you've got to get out and about first and foremost, I'm Dan, I sell houses in your area.
Yep. And I think if you look at
Then they
someone,
can start to like me, hopefully.
well, yeah, well, if you look at another Dan, Daniel Priestley, I think he can't remember the exact ratio for this, but it's 11 touch points, and I think it's about
Yeah.
4 hours worth of content or 4 hours spending with someone. Then you kind of like, know, and trust them, sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
if you're meeting someone for the first time on their driveway and saying, "Hi, I'm Dan. Hi, I'm Chris," whatever it may be, and expecting them to love you and like you after that one meeting, you're probably going to be quite disappointed in that situation. So this is where kind of your marketing touch points come in with regard to that local area. This is when your social media comes into it as well. So like I've seen your videos, I've seen your boards, I've seen your leaflets. So therefore you're starting to build that brand presence. So you knock on the front door and they're like, I kind of recognize you already. Aren't you that
Yeah.
guy from my Facebook feed?
And this is where, I'm going to say a really boring word now, process. Like, and this, this is where process comes in, isn't it? And you say the word process, you're like, oh my God, that's so boring. But actually, the best estate agents that I've worked with, have come across, or when we've had success, is that people have got a process that they're nailed on, follow every single time. And I think, it's very easy now to rely on technology. It's very easy to rely on brand, so social media or things like that, and think, oh, why would they not use me? They've seen my videos. But actually, it's not as simple as that. We didn't have, 20 years ago, there wasn't that. So you had to build a process all the way through. From, you mentioned touch points, then of, okay, well, I've put a leaflet through the door, then I've knocked on the door, then I've had a conversation, then I've managed to finally get them on my applicant card. And now I'm going to call them after a week. Then I'm going to send them some particulars, and then I'm going to see if they like those particulars, and you had that process all the way through. And I think I worry sometimes that technology, because it does it for us, we can almost forget about that.
Yeah.
Pick the phone up, because not just one phone call, not just one visit.
I think I think for me the surprising bit is how many marketing touch points it takes for people to recognize you. Now I experience this firsthand myself, so I bang out social media content every day and podcasts and YouTube stuff, wherever it may be, and I've got people on my mailing list that I know that I email every 2 weeks, and I've had chat with online, I've sent them stuff and free stuff and giveaway sort of thing. We'll go to events, and I'm like, oh, it's Paul, isn't it? Nice to meet you, Paul. We've chatted online. He's like, have we? And I'm like, what do I need to do for you to know who I am? Sort of thing. We've literally spoken online, had conversations before. So for me, I've certainly experienced that the amount of marketing and touch points and sort of in your face repeated messages people actually go, oh, you're that estate agent guy, aren't you? Is a
Yeah,
lot more than people expect from day one.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
So I think in that situation, you're a big part of your own life, obviously. You are your world sort of thing. But to their life, you're probably less than 1% if you're lucky, sort of thing. So a lot.
Why would everyone not know me? I post
Exactly. Yeah.
every
Where
day.
have
I've
you
got,
been? What have you doing?
thousands of followers. Surely
Yeah.
they want to know
Exactly.
who I am and what
Exactly.
I do.
Good. So you ran a poll a while ago on
It's
LinkedIn, which kind of blew up quite nicely.
a
Well
little
organized.
bit.
And so tell us what the poll was.
Yeah, the question was, do you need experience to be a self-employed estate agent?
Okay.
And there was lots of thinking around this, because, and something that's been on my mind probably for the last couple of years is that when I joined the industry, when you joined the industry, when many people joined the industry, there wasn't a choice of what you did. You went and got a job. If you wanted to be an estate agent, you went and got a job in your high street estate agent, and that was it. There wasn't a hybrid. There wasn't an online. There wasn't self-employed.
Yep.
There was no choice. So we're in a really good position at the moment for anyone joining the industry, where they've got choice. They could look at traditional. They could look at an independent. They could look at a corporate. They could look at an online. They could look at something like a Purple Bricks. They've got the sort of what I would say the hybrid self-employed models like Yopa. They could look at franchises, or they could look at the fully self-employed models, and go all in, which is great. However, that's a minefield as well. Someone
Yes.
coming in, 18, 19-year-olds, they could look at all that choice. Whilst choice is great, they may well get blown away by it and not know which way to go. And obviously, self-employed estate agency is, in my opinion, is brilliant for our industry. It's growing brilliantly. There's some great people going into it, and I just wondered, is that a viable option for someone at 19, 20, or even further down? Maybe they've done something else for 10 years and want to change careers. Is it a viable option? I've got my opinion. I'm sure you've got yours, which we'll talk about. I wanted to hear what people said.
And which way did the poll go? What was the sway?
Yeah, so 73% of the people that voted said that you did need experience to be a self-employed estate agent. And what was quite interesting, the majority of those were self-employed estate agents.
Yep.
It said actually to do what I do, you must have experience.
Yep.
Is what they said.
So, and was that a surprise to yourself that came through that way?
Really surprised. Yeah, really surprised. There were three options on the poll. It was yes, no, or potentially you could do it, but with some caveats, with something in place. And I expected more in the caveat. Yes, you could, but with caveats. But that was only 7% of the votes. 20% of people said no.
Yeah.
You
So
could
I
just go
was,
straight.
I'll throw my hat into the ring on this one, and as I said to you before we started recording today, I'm willing to die on a hill on this one.
Yeah,
Is that no, you don't need experience, but I think my comment literally was no, but dot dot dot,
yeah,
and it's quite a long but afterwards, effectively. And that but is if you were, I won't name any names here. If you were to join certain self-employed models, I would say yes, you do need experience because you are literally paying for a CRM system, a lead into right move. Best of luck. Hopefully, see you in a year's time at the Christmas party. And in that
yeah.
situation, you'll be like, okay, day one, what do I do, sort of thing. And there's no sort of guidance, nothing behind the scenes kind of support you on that side. If you went to a different model, again, I'll keep this anonymous on that side, that has some sort of support, training, structure in the background. It goes, right, it's day one, guys, come on to training sort of thing. We'll see you next week for our training on X, Y, and Z. And, you got an accountability buddy and whatever else it may be. Great. No problem at
Yeah.
all. Absolutely, welcome to the party. I think you'll do absolutely great sort of thing. So actually, when I was at the property franchise group, I looked at some of the fees that were charged by the estate agents that worked across there. And for one of the brands you move, the it was about 50-50 on any training session. 50% would have experience and have done it for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be, and half the guys who were on the training course had no experience whatsoever. And it was almost what's a viewing, what's a valuation, and when do you charge a fee sort of thing. If you looked about a year later, generally the ones with the higher fees were the non-experienced estate agents
Yep.
because they hadn't had that ingrained knowledge of the last 20 years of going, it's all about the fee. You can't charge more than 1%. You can't charge more than so and so price. They were just like, gonna put my fee up today. Why not? It's almost like the excitedness of youth.
I didn't give my opinion on the poll. I didn't give any results yet. I will do, and I'm happy to sort of talk about it now. I'm with you. I'm absolutely. You don't need experience to do it, but and there are the buts are some of the things you've talked about. There, you've got to have a structured plan. You've got to have something to follow. You've got to have a blueprint to say this is what success looks like. Go and sort of be you. Have your personality. Be you, but do these fundamental things. Send these letters, knock on these doors in this way, use this process, to use that boring P word again, follow this, and you'll be successful. And there are models out there now in some, which is brilliant to see. Some of the brokerages now have these things in place. They can say, go and follow that, because they've had people follow it. A lot of the brokers now have agents that have come with no experience. And this is a real passion of mine. And as you know, and many people know, I spent a lot of time working at Purple Bricks. And it's, you say the word Purple Bricks, people will get mixed opinions, and it'll open up a whole different debate, which we won't talk about today. But one of the things that I am most proud of that we achieved at Purple Bricks was something called the Purple Bricks Academy. And the whole idea of the Purple Bricks Academy was that we were running out of high street estate agents to sell the hybrid dream to come over and work in the new model. So to keep recruiting, we knew that we had to recruit, we had to grow our own people. So we created exactly what I've just said, a 12-month structured plan where somebody could come with no experience or a little bit of experience or want to change industries, follow that plan. They were partnered with someone that's experienced, so they had a mentor, they had someone signing off each process, they got to see how it's done in the real world. They had an academic side of it where they do their qualifications. So it took them on this journey. And it's interesting you mentioned performance, and we did a similar test, and we did ours on because fee was the fee at Purple Bricks. It wasn't, so we couldn't look at who was charging more, but we did it on valuation conversion. And in that test, the people that came to the academy were converting their valuations better than the people that had come from the high street. So I'm really passionate about this.
And do you think that's because it's a sort of old habits die hard? I don't want to say teach old dogs new tricks, because that sounds very condescending. But is it a case that people have been in a estate agent for a long period of time? They've kind of gone, this is the way I've done it for the last 20 years. It's worked out for me all right. So therefore, that's where I'm going to stick to. Do you think it's kind of that sort of mentality?
There's a couple of things in there, and you'll have heard that I've always, on your travels, we've always done it like this. And it's, just because you've always done it like this doesn't mean it's the right thing to do today. So you have to be able to change. And I think it's a no fear thing as well. I always think about the booking mortgage appointments. If ever you had a new negotiator come into the branch, suddenly they'd be booking the mortgage appointment on their very first applicant registration. And then the negotiator that's been there for 2 or 3 years said, "How did you do that?" And they did it purely by asking, because somebody said to them, "When you get to that box on the CRM, tell them that we've got a mortgage advisor and ask them if they want an appointment." So they do just that. And because they do that on every single call, because they know nothing else, they haven't had people say no, and they haven't had the objections, they haven't created this sort of inner fear, they just do it and they get the results. And I think it'd be the same with this. If you said to someone, "Look, do that, follow this process," they would do it.
Someone should really write a book about that. What would they call it? I completely agree with regard to especially the financial services and the valuation booking side of things. You get a new member of staff on board and say, hit the phones, ask them this, ask them that. When they say that, you say that, they're like, cool,
Yeah.
fine, no problem at all. And it's that sort of deterioration of no in their mind for lots of guys over time. So once you've had your first couple of no on financial services appointments, eventually you start asking less and less and less until eventually you're like, oh, I don't bother asking anymore because everyone's going to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, on this subject of sort of bringing people into the self-employed model, because I do, like you, I think we believe in the self-employed model. We think actually it's great and I'll caveat it with, it's great for the right person, because there are still people out there that should be employed, and
Yep.
the best model for them is employed, and they've got the choice now, which is brilliant. What was interesting was that a lot of the people that said no, you don't need experience, or no, you don't, but you'd need this, were the people that were heading up these brokerages and heading up these. So clearly they understand that there's something here. I think what I'm really excited to see over the sort of coming months and years is how that comes to life. How these brokerages now say, okay, we are now really passionate about attracting first class people into our industry and into our model, and we want to keep them, and we're going to do them by having this in progress.
I think it's really nice to see, and I've definitely felt this progress over the last 6 months, especially. So I've had more and more contacts from brokerage models saying we want you to come and support our team and support our new guys who join us. We want to do new starter training, then you want to catch up every quarter or catch up every 6 months, whatever it may be, because we want them to succeed. I think when you first launch that sort of brokerage model, it's sort of a was it sort of you're focused so much on the revenue rather than the profit. You just focus on getting lots of guys in the front door, and yeah, we've got big numbers, we've got 10, we've got 20, we've got 30. But then if you're losing 10, 20, 30 in the following months and years sort of thing, your net position is probably a loss in the grand scheme of things. So I think
Yeah.
lots of people are kind of seeing the writing on the wall going, actually, we need to invest up front in these guys when they come on board with us. So we almost have like a duty of care to them to invest in them up front so their business succeeds down the line. That will then lead to further recruits for ourselves. So investing in those people to also invest in their business as well.
And invest in those people from the start. They're going to stay, aren't they? They're going to stay with you. They're not going to say, "Oh God, it's not quite working, so I'll jump to the next brokerage. I'll move on." They're going to stay with you. And this is, we've talked about sort of the issues within our industry at the moment of either not being able to attract the right people, maybe because of salaries or whatever, and then losing them. I met with an MD of a really big sort of independent estate in the Midlands a few weeks ago, and they were losing staff to go and work. They were going to work in restaurants and pubs because in their mind they could earn the same money for a lot less stress, is what they
Yep.
were saying. So, and I think if we can get the attraction and the retention right in the self-employed model, we could attract some really first-class people. I think some of the people that came through that Purple Bricks Academy were just brilliant people, like really good people. And actually, there's a number of them now working in the self-employed world, and I've got really successful businesses, that and earning life-changing money. But
Do you think there's a self-employed perfect storm brewing? So what I mean by that, to kind of put an outside source on it, is that so Chris Watkins posted a week or two ago about what basic salaries are these days and how they haven't gone up with inflation, and still a negotiator earns, I don't know, 20 grand, whatever the number was, sort of thing. And it should really be more like 30 grand if you could track through inflation. So they've not had any pay rises over the last 20 years or whatever it may be. And then there's more and more people who are working harder and harder and harder for less and less and less. And the self-employed models are getting better and better and better. So therefore they're retaining more people, and that is kind of coming through. So they're on the up as the employee stuff is on the way down. So do you reckon there's a perfect storm? There's gonna be a point in the future where everyone goes, screw it, I'm going self-employed. And there's going to be, a month, 6 months, a year where it just goes through the roof.
I think if an agent has got the right mentality and has got the funds to be able to do it, to be able to do it, then yes, absolutely that is happening. But what I hope is happening, and we're starting to see certainly within some businesses, that employed businesses, that they are reacting to it now and saying, actually, there are still people out there that are great estate agents that wouldn't be right for self-employed, whether that be financial or for whatever reason. So how do we attract and retain those people? How do we? I posted on LinkedIn or commented on LinkedIn, was it last week or the week before, around just employing somebody today with a basic salary, 20 days holiday plus bank holidays, a bang average pension, and maybe a car allowance isn't enough anymore. Mm-hmm. Because, and a lot of that in estate agent, a lot of that will be to do with the six-figure sums that self-employed estate agents are talking about earning, and the life that they've got. They're talking about being in control of their destiny, being able to work from wherever they want to and earn good money. So if as an employer today, I think you have to look and go, how do we not do that, because clearly we can't, but how do we make it for the right people? How do we make it really attractive? And I love what, I know we said we wouldn't talk about brokerages in particular, but EXP for their employed people, unlimited holiday. They're not the only business doing that. There are more businesses now saying, actually, we're not going to put a cap on holiday. And I was talking to an owner of a business that's done that, and I said, well, how's it going? Are the people taking loads of holidays? He said, no, people are taking just what they need, what they want, but they just feel really good about it. So I think, hopefully things are changing. Chris, I liked Chris's post on that. I commented on it. Lots of people commented on it, and I think it's really obvious and it's easy for us to say, I suppose, that something needs to change, and hopefully it is.
Yeah, I think that it's a interesting time in estate agency, to say the least, with regards to the self-employed model coming through. And as you mentioned earlier, I don't think it is right for everybody. And I will be very transparent with this. So for a long time, when I was at the property franchise group, I enjoyed being employed. I enjoyed having holidays. I enjoyed being paid for it. I enjoyed having a boss. So Nick, hello. I enjoyed having a boss called Nick. That if anything went really wrong, I was like, it's Nick's problem. It's not my problem. Yeah, if it gets escalated on a certain point and I can't deal with it, Nick, you're the MD, mate. You deal with it. Thank you very much. And I enjoyed that part of it. But I know that below the surface, I know that I always wanted to have my own business in some format, whether that was going to be an estate agency model or consultancy model, whatever it may be. I knew that was underlying, and I had two choices in my mind. Either I shut my mouth and did something about it and got on with it, and it either went well, didn't go well, but at least I knew what happened then, or I stayed quiet on it and I just took it to my grave, and on my deathbed I went, oh, I should have been a self-employed estate agent when I was 35 years old, sort of thing. Those are my two choices. I decided to put a line in the sand and go, actually, I'm going to kind of throw my hat into the ring on it.
I think everybody has to make that decision at some point, don't they? If you really want to do it, I had to do it. You've had to do it. Everyone, whether they're consultants or estate agents, has had to make that decision at some point. And I had the same thought process. If I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. And I knew I wanted to do it. But on the flip side of it, not everybody wants to do it. Not everybody wants to do that. And I think what we have got to be careful of is that we don't alienate employed estate agency by talking about how brilliant self-employed estate agency is. It's Absolutely brilliant for the right person. But what you should also be able to enjoy a really, really good employed position in a estate agency. And that's where now employers maybe just have to up their game a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think if the self-employed model ups the game for employed estate agents as well and gets them an extra X, Y, Z or a pay rise, or they say they can do X, Y, Z to try and retain them, cool, great. I'm all up for people getting paid more money. High fives all around, everybody.
Well, that will, a lot of people talk about raising the standards of our industry, and there's lots of things that are going to go into that. And although some of the things you've just said there are fundamental to it, in my opinion, the fundamental to raising our standards is that we've got to be able to attract better people, and we've got to be able to keep them in our industry, not get them onto the conveyor belt, not support them, not train them, not pay them what they deserve, and then lose them to another industry.
Yeah. Invest in your people. The word being invest. Invest being it pays back in the long run. Otherwise, you're just throwing away your money. So, Dan, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely brilliant, mate. Thank you for coming on.